I am so excited for this conversation, and they called this a fireside chat, and I don't think they meant it was going to be as hot as fire, but it kind of is. So thanks for being flexible, everybody, and coming to this venue. But maybe we'll start early on. As a proud parent of a University of Michigan junior.
Go Blue.
Thank you. Ross School right here, so I was doing a little LinkedIn snooping on you. You've been in marketing your entire career. What advice do you have for someone who says, I aspire to the CMO role at one of the most iconic brands ever?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for being here. I feel really honored to be in this seat.
You're too kind.
Talking with you today. I have been a marketer my whole life, and I was one of those very weird high schoolers who knew exactly what I wanted to do in high school. It was this. Whether I could verbalize it was brand management, it was this thing. And I think that what I would probably say to my younger self is just to continue to seek out new and different responsibilities and experiences. I don't think when I was starting in brand management that I could have ever imagined the metaverse, AI, digital marketing, because all of that didn't really exist in the way that it does now. So I think that it's really just to be open to what's new and getting different experiences. If you think about the folks that started in digital marketing, it hasn't even been around 20 years yet. So if you jumped in 18, 19 years ago, you're an expert in the space.
But it's also all you know.
And it's all that you know. And so diversifying your experience, whether you're a traditional marketer, get specialized experiences in digital or audiences or, those different things, and be open to that. I think it's all kind of like a jungle gym. It's not a ladder of experiences that you get.
Yeah, I think that's great. The opportunities to market used to be the big three television networks, radio, newspaper.
When I started, and I'm going to date myself, even though I identify as a Gen Z, I'm going to date myself. We had a TV plan, a print plan, and an FSI plan. And a lot of you probably don't even know what an FSI is. They don't exist anymore.
No, they don't. But that's a great segue into the next question, which is, how do you help brands stay culturally relevant? You're essentially marketing to 4 generations of people, and you have such a broad swath of products, and each of those have different stories. How do you do that?
Yeah, no, the 4 generations of consumers is a really interesting space, and if you really want to hear me geek out, that's when I start to talk about how different the generations are. And most people's introduction into our category is Halloween. And so Halloween is, our category's version of the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Right. It's the Super Bowl of the year because it is the introduction to our brands. And there's a lifetime value in that. Full-size the house that has a full-size candy bars.
Always the best one on the block.
Yeah, always the best one on the block. Whether you got, your favorite M&Ms or Snickers, and in that candy, when you divide up the candy, which ones do you, donate versus the ones that you want to eat for the rest of the week. It's a really important part of introducing our brands to a different consumer at the most permissible time. As a company that sells confectionery, we think treating yourself is really important, but we also want to be really responsible. If you think about the people who buy our products, who we consider our consumers, they might buy us once or twice a year. So we need a lot of people to buy us once or twice a year because we do feel like that is probably the standard of responsible consumption.
And then how does So if you're the Super Bowl is Halloween, which makes all the sense in the world, as is probably a little bit of Valentine's Day, maybe the Thanksgiving,
Easter.
Right? Easter. There are a few in there. How do you think about the four generations and marketing to them on, let's say, Halloween? Are you trying to identify first-time purchasers? Are you looking for loyalists? And then how do you think about that from what's my media plan? What's my in-store plan? What's my digital plan or offline plan?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love to use the example of actually the November-December holidays because how people celebrate, how long they celebrate within that period is very interesting. So take the onslaught of Friendsgiving. So in some places, Friendsgiving is even more important than the traditional Thanksgiving because Thanksgiving has very rooted in tradition that you don't necessarily veer from. So everybody has the same thing, in your family every Thanksgiving, and that's what everyone is used to. There's not a lot of room for new brands or to try new things in Thanksgiving. But what Friendsgiving is all about trying something new and doing things the way that your group of friends does it. And that it's a very millennial, Gen Zennial type holiday that didn't exist probably, 20, 30 years ago.
So I'm the old guy, Gen Zennial.
Gen Z,
I love that.
Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, great term.
The term I don't like is geriatric millennials. I kept hearing that today, and I feel like that is an abomination.
Let's do it. You just ended it. We're done. We're done with that right now. How do you think about purpose and the role of purpose in marketing?
Yeah, so purpose is something that is really important to this next generation of consumer. You heard it first with millennials, and now with Gen Z, with Gen Z in a very different way. But in that sense, what a brand stands for, and even more importantly, what they don't stand for, becomes really important to this generation on what they consume. They want brands with a heartbeat. I remember a few years ago there was this, a lot of millennials, shunned big brands. They were looking for the small insurgent brands. And I think what they were doing is that they were searching for purpose. They were searching for what that heartbeat of the brand is. And a lot of brands were able to evolve to that. If you take a look at, M&M's, it's been around a long time, and it's always been a standard of fun. And what we did was just bring that more to the forefront of, being a place where everyone belongs through the power of fun. And it's been in the DNA, but the way that we start to talk about it is more intentional. And Gen Z's resonating with that. The characters have been around for a long time, for over 50 years. But how we've evolved them to have more personality, with orange being anxiety ridden, or red being a showman. Those things have always existed. It's just how we talk about it in more of the today language that resonates with Gen Z.
Yeah, that's great. You can have so much fun, and you do, right? You do have so much fun with those characters, and how they play to your different audience segments. Love that. So we were talking earlier about brands and some of the areas that they may be a little out of their lane. How do you think about that?
Yeah. So when I talk purpose, usually we have at Mars Wrigley we have 26 brands in North America. So a lot of brands.
All delicious.
All very delicious. But when I talk purpose, I talk a lot about M&Ms, and I talk a lot about Skittles, both that have very colorful foundations that help them, that in their purpose is in their DNA. I don't necessarily talk about a lot of other brands because brand purpose has to be authentic, right? You can't just decide one day that this brand is going to be about a purpose. And I would tell you, consumers will sniff that out right away. And so if it's not if it's not consistent with the history and what you've brought to the table in the past, it'll be really hard. It takes years to build that type of equity.
No hard pivots. No hard pivots, right? Like
no hard pivots.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. What do you think the future of marketing looks like? There's every couple of years there's something new, something hot, something that people are just running towards, whether it's Facebook 15 years ago or it's TikTok a couple of years ago. How do you think about that, and what's on your radar?
Yeah, I think all the marketers we're here at advertising's biggest party, right? And I think that one of the things last year it was NFTs and the metaverse. This year it's Gen AI is all over the place. But I think the undercurrent as a marketer that I'm really interested in is the whole idea of what is the right balance of equity and performance, right? I think that's one of the things that we play around with across all of our brands. And there's no equation for any brand. I think that the right balance comes over time and is specific to a particular brand. But I think that we're all testing and learning, trying to figure out what's the right balance of equity, long-term value, long-term ROI versus short-term conversion. I happen to be in a category where impulse is really important. It's majority of how people consume. So, that instant conversion becomes really important, but so is long-term value.
What excites you?
I think the biggest thing that excites me is that there are things that we haven't even figured out yet. If you take the past 15 years and where we are in a marketing space, who knows what the next 15 years will bring. And then I think the other thing that's really exciting to me is this new generation of marketers who grew up with digital, grew up with performance marketing. And guess what? We're going to have to teach them brand building. I think that's pretty exciting.
It's so great because it leads into your leadership style. Like I can just tell, we haven't spent a ton of time together. I can just tell you are, I think, an empathetic, inspirational leader. And like that comes through. We talk about purpose. We talk about being genuine in your brands, but I think it also comes through in you. How do you view the grooming or the mentoring of that next generation?
I think the biggest thing is that I learned from them. I don't know all the answers, and as I have learned, I learn them just like I learn any consumer base, right? Gosh, I could talk forever about the future of work and what that looks like for a new generation. I was raised by a generation of folks that stayed at a company for 30 years. And when I left a company that I worked for 12 years, it was, what are you doing? I can't believe you're leaving. You're supposed to stay at places for 30 years. And now if people stay at a company for 30 days, they've done a really great job. It's changed. And I think employers are going to have to do more, and leaders are going to have to do more to inspire and to make sure that people, all associates and their company, have a seat at the table and feel empowered to make decisions, because we can all learn from every generation.
Yeah, the diversity of experiences, even if you're at the same company for 10, 12, 15 years, getting out of that and experiencing a new culture, a new management style. And I think it goes back to your original thesis or comments around purpose. If the company has a purpose, people want to work there. I think that's super important for everyone to everyone to take away.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I was in business school, I thought I was going to be some type of corporate social responsibility marketer, and I've always sought those types of opportunities. I picked my first company because of that strong values and purpose. And then I realized when I left there that not all companies share that same type of strong purpose and values that reach their associates. And so that's why I sought out Mars. I started at Mars in our pet nutrition area, which is all about purpose, all about the connectivity that that consumers have with their pets, pet parents have with their pets. And then I've moved over to Mars Wrigley at the right time when, you know, we were just launching purpose for M&Ms, and, you know, Skittles has always been in a purpose space.
So before I open it up for questions, what didn't I ask that I should have?
I think you asked everything. We talked a lot about, you know, I think one of the things that I love about my job is the fact that every day is different. Every brand is different. It's almost like I have a new job every time I talk to a different one of my teams. I may talk to, you know, our gum team or our mints team or our fruity confections team. And it feels like a very different space every time I am talking to those teams. And so it's honestly the best job in the world.
Love that. All right, before questions, speed round.
Yeah.
We're in Cannes, beach or mountain?
Mountain.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Favorite sport? Because Mars Wrigley does a lot of sports-related marketing.
I'm not. I guess I better say NFL.
Your favorite book or the last book you've read?
Ooh, the last book I read was Click. It was about connections and networking.
Excellent book. It's the Heath brothers.
Yes.
Excellent book. Favorite dessert? This is not a trick question.
Chocolate.
Me too. And if there are samples, I'm happy to come by. What is at the top of your bucket list?
I think I'm here at Cannes.
Right? Like this is work, people. Somehow we get paid to be here. It's kind of remarkable. Don't tell anybody.
Who has meetings at the beach? I mean, like, if I really, you know, meetings at the beach.
Don't tell anybody this is work. This is a tough question, and I don't think you're going to answer it. What's your favorite brand?
My favorite brand? Okay, so I have to say personally, even before I came to Mars Wrigley, I am still a die-hard Orbit gum fan. Like, I have Orbit gum in every bag, so, you know, I have my 5 things that I keep when I change purses. It's probably way too personal, but 5 things that I have, 2 phones, wallet, hand sanitizer, keys, and gum.
Love that.
Like, not even lipstick
No
or
joke.
anything like
No
that.
joke.
Just those 5. I'm good.
I think this question is going to have a lot of answers. I can just tell right now. What never fails to make you smile?
Oh, so many things. I've been married to my husband since 1782, and he always makes me smile. He knows how to make me laugh. My kids, when they're not being typical teenagers, also make me laugh and smile. And really, being able to do what I love and inspire moments of everyday happiness at Mars Wrigley makes me smile every day.
I love that.
I mean, if you can't have, you can't help but have fun.
If
in
we've learned anything over the last 3 years, like, if you don't like what you're doing, go do something else. Life's too short.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Well, great.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
everybody.
very much.
Thank you.